All right, I think I'm live. Chat filter. Trying to figure out how to get everything to work on here. Spin around in circles while waiting on people to show up. What's going on, the goat? Sitting out here, sitting in a chair for once. Feel really awkward, like I don't really know what to say. How's it going from Twin Lights from Tennessee? Hey Brian, I'm glad I could help. I used to do more like how-to content, and now I kind of throw in what I know how to on some of this stuff, like these. Where's my finger? These Rangers right here. I mean, I've got quite a bit of experience on them now, so I just try to throw what I know in there. The goat says, "Do you think there's more money in parting ATVs or fix them and sell them?" I think it depends on the unit. So we'll go for a good example right here. This Kubota, to fix that, to sell it, it's not worth it. It needs so much at this point, but to part it out, it's easy money. Easy money. That's what I'm gonna have to do with it, because nobody wants it whole, because it costs too much to fix it. Now, this Ranger, that's borderline. It could go either way. Since it's got 2 diffs, 3 diffs, all those are worth pretty good money. You can part those out. The engine, since it's a Sportsman 500 engine, not a whole lot of money in that. The newer they get, the more expensive they get. So like the 05 to 08s, those rear diffs are like 1,400 bucks. And so if you pick one up for 400 or 500, something like that, that's just rusted out, ragged out too much, that's easy money to part it out and make, what's that? Especially if you're selling it on eBay, I mean, by the time it's all said and done, shipping, you can make $800 just off the rear diff. Do I regret giving up on eBay? Says Landon. No. I do not have any interest in eBay. I hate selling on eBay. I'd say that's a bad way to put it. eBay's a good option to sell on. I don't like with this, I don't get paid as often. With eBay, I was getting paid every day except for Sunday. Now I don't have signal in the shop, so I'm sitting kind of out of it. This rack right here, it's like 100, not even 100, it's like 80 parts on eBay. So that's stuff that will get sold on eBay. It's hard. I mean, I got to get the money out of it. Like, what am I going to do? That tank that's up there, that sold for 80 bucks. It's going to cost me, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks to ship it. After eBay fees, that's 60 bucks. What am I going to do? Throw that in the trash? I can't. What state am I in? I'm in Oklahoma, just over the Texas border. Marty Vision said, "There's money to be made flipping wheelers." Yeah, there is. So like this one, that Sportsman right there, probably not so much. Vincent says, "Hello from Nashville." Ooh, Tennessee, that's a little bit of a hike. Marty Vision says, "I'm in Vermont, bought 2 Honda Rubicons, fixing them up and making a profit." The only thing with them Rubicons, you gotta be careful with that Honda-matic transmission. Cole says, "Do you still have a large amount of ATV parts?" No, I have a lot of Polaris stuff, a lot of Ranger stuff, because I was buying so many of them. I sold out back in, I think it was early May, late April last year, to Brutal Parts up there in, I think he's in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Do you make more doing this than selling parts on eBay? It says Jimothy Park. Eh. It's probably close to the same right now. The winter months were always pretty rough for parts. Nobody's fixing their stuff during the winter, so I'd say close to it. It's roughly. I think some months, during the summer months, I made more doing this than I did selling parts. Cole says, greetings from Kansas. Hey man, you're not too far. Well, I say that. I think it's still 5 hours to get to Kansas from here. I don't know why I don't ever find nothing up there. Like, I was thinking about that the other day. I'm always in Texas, Arkansas, or Louisiana buying stuff. I never go to Kansas or Missouri. Ready Power Sports. What's going on down there in Florida? Trump 2025 from Boston says Hector Ortiz. Raptor Crazy. What's up, big dogs? I missed your lives before it was 5 in the morning my time. Oh yeah. Yeah, I figured it would make sense to be a little bit later. Where is it 5 o'clock in the morning at here? Or in, I guess what, you'd be on the other side of the hemisphere, like Australia or something? A&M Machines just worked on a 2001 Polaris Magnum 325 and got it running. Had to take off all the plastic just for a carb. Have another identical, but not in as good a shape that does one have a carb. I did a Hawkeye many years ago and I haven't really messed with them since because like you had to take all the plastics off to get to the carb. I could have swore from the Magnums you could do it without taking it off. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, there you are, Brutal Parts. Yeah, man, I go down to Texas a lot. You might see me down there. Ready Power Sports says, have you ever dabbled in snowmobiles? No, that is on my bucket list to ride a snowmobile. There was one that popped up and it was about 2 hours away from me. It was a Polaris of some sort. I remember it was blue and I was supposed to run $500 in Oklahoma. Like, this is southern Oklahoma. Like, we're talking, it had to have been 10 minutes across the Texas border. I'm like, whatever, I'll go get it. That sounds like fun. And then something happened, like the rear main seal on my F-250 blew out and it was smoking, burning oil everywhere. So I had to walk on that deal. Cole said the good deals are definitely in Oklahoma, not much in Kansas. You know, everything I find's in Texas. Like almost all the stuff. Everything in here came from Texas. Like literally, except for my Outlander. Was bolted to the front. Oh yeah, they got that little thing. The goat said, would you say the market for selling machines is soft as far as selling fast or slow? That's a good one. You know what? If you've seen the last few videos with these Green Rangers, every single one of those, I actually got less on them than I thought I could. Like $200 less on each one. They haven't been doing well, but it's cold here still. Not as cold as if you're up north, but cold for Oklahoma. I'm excited to get these 2 quads done so that I can see what that market's looking like right now. This time of year has always been kind of slow. What sells well right now are, you know, cheap cash cars because everybody's getting their taxes in. I remember parts would usually do pretty good. There'd be a pretty good boom right through February. Yeah. February, March. Raptor Crazy. Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois area. When you were coming on early, it was like 5 in the morning for me. Still watching videos. Thanks, man. Brutal Parts, typical Polaris, yeah. A&M Machine says, you flip full-time, bro? Yes, this is all I do. It seems like I would get more done in the week, but for some reason I was thinking that the other day. I was like, man, Why can't you push out 2 videos a week and punch out more of these? I don't know. I'm just slow, I guess. And then there's stuff like this here, Ranger, which I'm not gonna mention what happened. But there was part failure, major part failure. And then I gotta put it back together again. JT Outdoors, hey, I believe you already answered my question in one of your videos, but should I part out my 06 Honda Recon and a 06 Rancher 350 4x4 try to fix? Both have had the top end open for a year or so. Okay. That depends if it's gotten to the case. Like if it's just the top end and you can manage to get the cylinder off without completely destroying, like if the crank's not bad, I would fix. The Recon, there's not really any money in parting out. The rear ends used to be worth money. They're not anymore. The harness, like $100. So, but on the same flip side, all the parts are really cheap to fix those units. So probably better off fixing it. And if it's a little shaky, it is cold out here. The cold is coming in and my hands are cold. A&M Machine says taxes coming in, people gonna be buying. Yeah, that's how it is. And one of the things that had me questioning if stuff like this isn't selling as well, because that isn't to the typical tax time baller market, where like a quad would be, or like, you know, like sport quads. Last time I flipped like this much, I was doing sport bikes back then. And as soon as that tax money hit, you didn't even want to be the first one with a bike online. You want to let a few sell. So all the cheap stuff would sell. And then you'd bring your stuff, you know, list it on Craigslist, maybe date myself a little bit here. List that on Craigslist and boom, boom, boom. You get more than stuff was worth. Ready Power Sports says, how big is your shop and how much you spend on it? All right, so it's a 30 by 40, 40 foot that way. If you want to, the structure itself was 22 grand, and it's not just this. Get this light to kick on. I have a lean-to right here. That's where I keep all my extra parts. That's a 10 foot wide, 30 foot long. The structure itself was 21 or 22 grand. I had the 40 by 60 slab poured, and then that was back in 2021, the end of 21. And then the cost of the building was too much at the time for me to be able to swing it. So I went with this back in last June, 2024. Ready Power Sports says, just built mine 20 by 30. Man, you know, it's every time I've moved, I've gotten a bigger shop. I had a 12 by 24 and then a 24 by 40. And then I had the shop in Idabel, which I have no idea how big that was. I think this in here is bigger than the shop space, but the entirety of the thing, the shop in Idabel was bigger. Cole said, when it comes to riding, do you ride at Little Sahara or Beaver? I've never heard of Beaver. Little Sahara is on my list of stuff to do, but I've yet to go there. Brutal Parts said, parts seem to be picking up steam about this time. March, April, riding season breaks here. Yeah, I would agree with that. Coop Does It said, I've been flipping ATVs, vehicles, riding mowers, whatever makes money since COVID started. Not went back to work for anybody. You know, that's a very good point. I think that's probably a lot of people, and the money's there. I think for the people who started during 2020, I wonder, are you having a hard time adjusting to like the market coming back down? Because what some of this stuff was selling for in like 21 was just ridiculous. And I've started to notice it get back to normal. A&M Machines said, been flipping machines full-time for about 6-7 years. How long have you been full-time? I don't know how to answer that. Full-time without a day job since 9/11/2019. But I was more doing parts, and if I flipped something, we would maybe 2 a month. That was me flipping a lot. Like I wasn't flipping that much back then. I miss pandemic prices, was balling. Yeah, when the COVID hit, I had 30, 40, maybe 50 machines sitting out back. And man, we just started stripping those things. And then we got to a point where I was spending all day with my wife shipping. She was normally the one shipping. And then whenever all that hit, I guess there was this massive shortage on parts everywhere else. And my shop's always been from home. So we were still shipping out, no problem. And golly, the money was rolling in from that. Beaver is a scaled down version of Little Sahara in the Panhandle. A lot less people, sand, it's smoother. Great place if you want to take your kiddos. Sandy, you know what? I did a big buyout from some stuff and I drove past something, but man, that would have been in like 2016. Dude, I spent like $660. And I had bought, it was a 24 or 26 foot gooseneck trailer. I had whole thing loaded down front to back. I filled the toolbox on the gooseneck up with axles and stuff. The bed of my truck was full of engines. And then I still had the inside the cab, I had a bunch of stuff in there. And I remember driving past something like that. I didn't have time to stop and look, but I think I spent like $660 on that entire load. It's wild. Bunch of good stuff, old school stuff. Stuff that I've only seen that one time, stuff that I've only heard of that one time. There was, I got a hold of a KX420 engine. A friend of mine was also in on it. And he told me, he said, I'm buying the Tacatis. What are the yellow ones? The Tri-Zs. And there were some 250Rs. I don't remember what kind of 250Rs. I know the Tri-Zs for sure because I still see them with acid or auction stickers on them sitting at his house when I go over there. He's got like 3 of them in a row. So I didn't bid on any of that. Didn't get any of the cool stuff. Brutal Parts said, I've had to ratchet back to older prices. Many machines on the lot were paid during COVID prices. I know that hurts. I know that's gotta hurt. Some of that T-Rex you were telling me about, $3 grand, that hurts. Coop does said, it's kind of seasonal obviously, but price here in Tennessee haven't really made a big difference, honestly. Only in vehicles, really. I could see that. I mean, Tennessee, depending on which part of Tennessee you're in, you're really not that far. Tennessee's, I mean, because I'm right here by Arkansas, Texas, both right there. A&M Machines, how do you normally find your machines? I post ads as many places as possible. I don't do well on those ads. There's a handful of people who I think do shady business that I've seen post those ads. And I'll be honest with you, I creep their ads and I will message those people. I got a Rhino 660 that way. It ran for $300. I don't know why this dude didn't buy it, because it was, I don't know, 30 minutes from him, 5 hours from me. Where are you out of, A&M Machines? But what I do is I spend a lot of time browsing Marketplace. And then I got a Kubota a little while back from my website. Somebody Googled who buys side-by-sides and found me. These two right here, actually, And the last 2 side-by-sides I did came from a viewer, and this Kawasaki came from a channel viewer. The Sportsman right there came from, that was Marketplace. Brittany Hayes says, are there any machines that you absolutely won't touch? Right now, it feels like Polaris. I want to set this thing on fire. But I don't like Arctic cats. I'm not going to say I won't touch them, because I'd like to get a hold of a wildcat to drive it. But like the 650 V2, I don't really have any use for that. Brutal Parts said, I like Tennessee for machines. Only 6 hours one way. Oh yeah, I see your other comment right there. Don't touch Chinese machines. I didn't think about that, because obviously I wouldn't even mess with those. So no Chinese stuff. That doesn't include CF Moto. Or if I ran across a good deal on something like a Benichi or whatever, something like that, if it was really clean, maybe I would, because it's a Rhino 660 with cheaper parts. JT Outdoors, do you use all OEM or aftermarket, and what specific parts do you buy OEM? That depends, man. There's no specific parts that I buy OEM. I will say, I bought an aftermarket part for this Polaris, and that royally screwed me today. That should be done right now, and it's not. I put links to all the parts I use in the videos. Most of the stuff I will go used, aftermarket, OEM. Just depends on what it is. Like the cup holders on those Rangers, I just buy them brand new OEM. Same thing with the battery trays that sit under the seat. They're like $24 brand new OEM. Some of it, and you get on eBay and they're 30 bucks. So it just doesn't make sense to buy a used one, and they don't really have aftermarket. But then there's some stuff like axles. A $400 or $500 OEM axle, when I'm buying it to sell, it doesn't make sense. Where like that one, that Ranger, I just put a front axle on it. I want to say it was like 50 or 60 bucks. For that, the amount of power that thing has, it's not going to break that cheaper branded axle. It'll be just fine. Some stuff, there is just certain things I don't like. Chinese carbs, unless I have to, I won't use a Chinese carb. But at the same time, like a new Polaris 500 carb is 600 bucks right now. There was one not too long ago I had to use a Chinese carb on. That was a Grizzly 600. That one was 600 to 800 or something like that for a new OEM carb. And it just doesn't make sense financially to buy something like that. So it really depends on the part. Coop Does It said, I'm about 30 minutes out of Chattanooga. Most of the good deals I find are in Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia. I guess that's why I do so good here. Yeah, that's a pretty good area to hit right there. I've noticed there's some areas it's like nobody's buying out there. There's some good deals. Do you know, if you're buying in that area, there is a site called reneebates.com auctioneers, which is also in Texas, but nothing in Texas sells for a good deal. I see good deals selling in Florida all the time. Same thing with Hibid, HIBID.com. I see some good deals down there. A&M Machines, I'm in Bryan, Texas. Try to stay away from machines that need too much work. I'm kind of picky. Yeah, I could see that. You know, actually, I think I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I was picking these up from James, I showed him a listing. I was like, you know who this guy is? Because I've never seen the ad before. But as soon as I got like, where was I? Like Franklin? It started showing me your ads on Facebook. If I'm thinking right, because are you spending a lot of money to get those ads out there? Because I tried it a while back when I first did my ibuyjunkatvs.com website. And I tried it as soon as I set it up. That thing net me so many machines, I couldn't keep up with everything. Fast forward, I do it again. Does well, not as good as the second time. I've done it a handful of times since, but it just never pans out. Like it doesn't give me the same leads as it did prior. Caden Williams says, "What up, dude? I love the channel. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it." A&M machines, we both said Arctic. Man, them Arctic hats, I don't know what it is. Like, they're just poorly built. None of them have, like, their own engine. Supposedly the Mud Pros, but, like, the resale on them is garbage. Like, how many times you been sitting around with people and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get myself an Arctic cat." Never. Caden Williams said he's in Chattanooga also. Oh no, got some competition on here. Brutal Part said, "I like cash poor areas for finding good deals." You would think that with where I live, because out here it's not a whole lot, but you know what? You're parting them out. Come to think about it. I bought out when we first moved out here, and Brian was hitting that kid. He would throw some stuff on his Snapchat. I don't know what he actually put on there. And all of a sudden I'd have like deals upon deals upon deals. He's like, "You want this? You want this? You want this?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go get them." So that was pretty cool. So if y'all know some youngin with Snapchat with like 10 million friends on there, have them Snapchat that out to everybody. A&M Machine says, "You're right. Spend about 300 a week and may get a hit or two. Big hit or miss." Wow. I'll be honest with you. That's a lot more than I was expecting you to say. 300 a week. Whew. I don't think I spent that much in marketing in the last 3 months. I will say I do some on Craigslist. It's so hit and miss. I'll get like 3 people hit me up the same week. Just wanted on the Craigslist wanted section. It doesn't cost anything on there, but then like I won't hear nothing for 9 months. Cole said, "What do you think about the Kawasaki T-Rex 4? Okay, so this one's a little touchy subject for me. I hate the Kawasaki V-twins. And I don't know if the T-Rex 4, I don't know what year, because they went over to like an 800. I don't know if it's better or not. I bought so many brute forces over the years, and they always needed the same exact thing: crankshaft, 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 crankshaft. And so it's just kind of like, and I have had a T-Rex in the past. Don't get me wrong. It was 08. 08 was the only year for carb model. You had to let that thing sit there and warm up for like 15 to 20 minutes. Otherwise, it wasn't going nowhere. So I'm assuming T-Rex 4. I don't know. Brutal Parts knows a bit more about the Kawasaki V-twin motors. Maybe he'll chime in and say if that's the 800, if the 800's better than the 750s. He might be a little biased though, because my Outlander's cooler than the T-Rexes. Not T-Rexes, brute forces. A&M Machine said, "Also not a big fan of the older Can-Am ATVs." You know, I haven't bought many Can-Ams over the years. Parts were always too cheap to want to mess with them. And now, I guess it has to be a G2 to want to mess with it, because those first gens are ugly. And I feel like looks sell machines way better. Raptor Crazy, how far do you travel to go look at stuff? I will go pretty far. Let's see. That was in Austin, Texas. I drove down there. Sunday to get that. That was a 6-hour drive one way. These were between San Antonio and Houston, and I had to take 2 trips. That was 6.5 hours one way. If it were the right deal, I would probably do 12 hours. But something like these, just basic machines that I could get around here, no, it would have to be something that's like deal that popped up, Razor 1000. I've been wanting one, you know, needs a transmission, $1,500. Then I'd consider a 12-hour drive. Brittany says, besides Polaris, is there anything specific you're wanting to do next? That's a good question. Probably more Razor stuff, 1000s, maybe some turbo stuff. Brutal Parts said the 800 is a fine motor. Is it the same as the 750s though? Is it like the same crank or is it full redesign? A&M Machines used to flip the crap out of those old Kawasaki mules, 2-seaters. Haven't found any that are decent enough to pick up. Them 2510s, man, the 2510s I've had lately, they've been pretty rough, but they've sold. There was one of them I bought and I fully intended to fix it. But I pulled the motor, tore it down, and lo and behold, the cases were trash. And you cannot get cases, evidently. There were no used ones on eBay. I had found one motor dude had in Missouri or Kansas, I can't remember. And I was willing to make the trip, but it was locked up too. And it was like, I don't want to gamble like that. I had a 3010 diesel not too long ago. That thing didn't sit here very long. That sold quick. Every one of those diesel mules, they sell very well. A&M Machine says, about to post a Magnum 325-01. You will see it soon. It'll be under Andrew C. Actually, I don't see the area around Bryan because I think mine cuts off a little north of Madisonville. Maybe it's like Centerville. I can't remember. I used to go down that way a lot for work when I was running service work. Brutal Parts said, no, the 800 is different crank too. See, well, maybe that would be a good engine to try out. It would expand the horizon because, it's real easy to get comfortable with what you know, like getting comfortable with these Rangers right here. I don't really have any interest in doing a whole lot of Kubotas. You have to buy parts from Kubota, which is wild. Cole said, since I keep seeing the Raptor Crazy pop up, what is your thoughts on the 700R? It's one of those things I would like to actually ride. I've rode a YFZ. I've never rode a Raptor 700. The crank and everything's supposed to be the same across all their 700 platform. So what was that? The Viking, I keep wanting to call it a Pioneer. The Viking I did would essentially be the same thing. So I would give it a shot. Like, it seems like they have a really good resale rate. I don't see a bunch of those sitting online for a long time. When most sport quads, you see the 400EXs, LTZs, stuff like that, they sit online for a while. Banshees, and I don't see many of those 700Rs. What else? The other one. God, I am drawing a blank. Fuel injected Suzuki's, LTRs. I don't see those sitting online very long either. Hunter Sauls said, what state are you in? I'm in Oklahoma, just north of the Texas border. Raptor Crazy said the new 800s are good. Yeah. I don't see as many people complain about those. I actually don't see any complaints. And, Kawasaki look like they're stepping their game up because what's that new one they're dropping that I think they're talking about has that H2R engine in it? which means that's gonna be pretty powerful. I bet that'd be a lot of fun. A&M Machine said you and your wife self-employed. Yeah, my wife helps me with stuff out here, and she used to do all of our shipping. Now she just helps me with whatever I need help with out here. But this is all I do full time. Cole said, I have an 08 700 SE. If I see you out when we're out on the sand, I'll let you ride it. Man, that'd be pretty cool. He said your wife has a 660. How do you feel about that compared to the 660? Because I have rode a 660. I wasn't impressed. You know, when I transitioned from sport bikes, I went to sport quads because the 4x4 stuff sucks to move. And I like the sport quads, but over long term, I realized that they're harder to sell. And that 660 seemed slow and top heavy compared to like a 400EX. Maybe the one I had issues. You know, I was still new to all this. That would have been in like 2015. And so what's your thoughts on those two? Okay, does it feel different too? JT Outdoors said, what do you think about Can-Am Outlander 700, 850, and 1000 XMR? I never rode an XMR. I have an 850. It's back there. That's a 24 model. My wife got it for me for Christmas, and I love that thing, but working on it sucks. It sucks so much. It's so much easier to work on a Polaris. Maybe I just need to get some better experience with this. And Brutal Parts is always telling me I'm gonna blow out my rear diff, so I've already grenaded some clutches. And I don't do nothing crazy. I was a little too many trail sodas deep, smoked my primary, smoked the belt. I took apart the secondary wrong. They fixed it under warranty after it grenaded because I put it together wrong. But besides that, I love that thing. It's so fast. A&M Machine says, you get her to clean the carb? LOL, I joke about that with my wife a lot. She probably could on the Recon. We've gone through a few Recons over the years. She really liked those. She probably could on a Recon. The most of these, it would probably be a little more of a pain to take off. The Recons, they're so easy to take apart. 660 is kind of a turd. Okay, makes me feel better. Like, I'm over here bashing 660s. And, you know, I've met a lot of people who think so highly of them, but I feel like it's probably like Gixxers. You know, people like Gixxers the most, but I've rode almost one of every of the big four, and them Gixxers are uncomfy. That was not comfortable to ride. It does look cool though. A friend of mine had a 700, had a lot of problems, ended up selling it. Talking about the Can-Am 700. Off the streets and in the creeks, just got done. The Ranger 800 engine is completely, yeah, I'm trying to keep it G-rated. My kids are probably watching it right now too. Yeah, I saw that. Are the cases bad? Because if your cases are fine, dude, you're gravy. Man, you can get a crank for 400 bucks. Cylinder with pistons, 300 or so. The head, that, if the head's damaged, that sucks because those aren't cheap. They're like 300 bucks. But I mean, still, the cases are $500 or $600 if you damage those. Sinister 6 Customs, what's up, brother? How's the hustle going? I'm making out like a bandit in Toronto. By Toronto, I assume you mean Canada. I don't know if there's another Toronto. I have not spent much time. I think the furthest north I've ever been is Kansas. Yeah, it's going pretty good in here. We're moving along. We're through the bad part of the year where everything's, you know, it's all up from here instead of being freezing cold. I think it's 50 degrees out here. It feels cold. Chasten Roden, why do you always buy Polarises? So this is a funny story. I used to hate Polaris. Right now I still do. So I had bought, I can't remember, I think I bought a Ranger or something, or I bought 2 Rangers back to back, and I went out and bought a Sportsman to pull the engine to drop it in the Ranger, and I kept doing that. Ended up with all of these parts, and then like I bought this one Ranger for parts for another Ranger, and just ended up with so many Polaris parts. We're talking about, let me see if I can get this light to kick on. See in there. Besides my handful of lawn equipment right here, all of that is Polaris, except for there's like a Grizzly or Rhino knuckle or something in there. That's how much Polaris stuff I have. And that's how I ended up just to where I'm just constantly buying Polaris, because when I buy something and you got the part for it, you know, so if that 700 needs a fan, I know I have a fan over there. If I buy a Razor and I need a seat frame, got a seat frame. Brutal Part says, tell me about your wildest purchasing story. I don't know about wildest. This is probably sketchiest. So this is back when it was Craigslist, probably 2013, 2014. It's a really bad picture of a blaster online. And you know, when a good deal comes up, you gotta go get it. It was $400. And I know it was an 06. I don't know what it was listed as. I know I bought it. It was an 06 white SE with the red frame. It was gorgeous. So we left at like 8 o'clock at night or at 9 o'clock at night to drive all the way across town to Burleson, Texas. And some of Fort Worth can get pretty ghetto. And I don't know Fort Worth, so I didn't know where we're getting into. She sends me an address to a store. We get to this store. It's not even an open store, like closed down. And we sit there for 30 minutes to an hour. She texts me back, finally, just as we're about to leave. Hey, sorry about the delay. I'm about to pull up. Pull up where? I'm at a fucking store. And she pulls up. Sorry, been dealing with all this stuff today. My husband went to jail. All right. She's like, if you follow me over there, and I'm like, great. And this was before I carried And so we drive down this road, and it's dark, and we're in the backwoods. We pull up to this house. The electric had been cut off. Basically, she said they had to move out, like they were losing everything. She was like, we have to sell everything off. She tried to sell me as mini Sprint. And it wasn't like everything was for sale. She wouldn't sell. There were some other machines there or whatever. She wouldn't sell. And so I get this blaster, and it was dirty from sitting. She told me all it needs is gas and a spark plug. I tell you what, I got it home. I washed it. That thing was beautiful. It was mint. And all it needed was gas and a spark plug. 06 hydro brake blaster, mint, special edition frame. And even at that time, like I remember I sold that for what I thought was top dollar, and I got $1,200 out of it. Sinister Stick Custom says freezing rain here. Yeah, that sounds like it sucks. I don't know what state you're in, but I would not want to live there. Off the streets and in the creeks. I think the crank is pushed up into the case. Looks kind of broke. What can I use off the Green Ranger 700? I don't think you can use those cases. The fuel injection's different on the 800s because that bolts down to the top. Maybe it's the same on that 700 if that 700's fuel injected. Be honest with you, if it looks like it fit, I would try it. Try dropping that 700 straight in there. I believe the difference is crank stroke. The pistons on the newer 700s and the 800s are the same pistons, same cylinder. Don't quote me. Might be the same head too. Chased Roden, what do you think about the brute force 650s or 750s? You'll never catch me owning one. I don't like them. Every single one of them, they always need a crank. You know, everybody talks about how much big power they make. And honestly, there's a lot of other stuff out there that I think could make more power. Brutal Part said brute force is the best force. I think he's a little biased because he's got a built brute force he said would smoke my Outlander. It's a 850. Mine's all stock for now. Reading this other comment. Great friend of mine had 5 of them. He got cheap and turned around and made a profit. All 5 sold 3 to racers. Another went to another guy. A&M Machines bought 2 golf carts in Dallas for $5,000. Got back home with them, and when I got home the next morning, my phone said I was being tracked by AirTag. I found the owners by calling the dealer that was the sticker on the cart. Got in touch with the owners, and they were both stolen. Had them pick them up and lost $5K that fast. Ouch. Ouch. You know, down here, there's not a whole lot of titles, especially with these older units. A friend of mine sent me I want to say it was a 22, maybe a 23. High lifter, 850. It might have been 1,000. Honestly, I don't know. They wanted $1,000 for it, and it was down there, Houston area. Now I'm already cautious buying from Houston area, but no title, 2022. That's a no-go for me. That's too much, and it had 30 hours on it, which means like, ooh. A&M Machines judging every book by the cover from now on, but no titles for golf carts. Golf carts don't have titles? I don't do golf carts. I bought one that came with a package deal a while back. But I am judgmental on what I buy online. It's the best, only way to really protect yourself. So like if somebody's got some slang nickname, I won't buy from them. If I mean, I'll look at the profile pictures. If they look like, we have a lot of crystal meth out here, and if they look like they have been doing that a lot, then I'll probably avoid it, just because I don't want to deal with somebody else's. I don't want to get something stolen. IP freely. Hey, I do the same thing. Oh, hold on, I missed one right there. Brutal Parts. I got a brute that will own you. Bro, that Kubota will smoke your brute. I've seen that thing. It doesn't leave the garage. IP freely said, hey, I do the same thing you do, but in Michigan. I buy, sell, trade. It's a good gig, but sometimes get tough for sure. And you do what you got to do. So I hear you about taking chance with your videos. You know, the YouTube is another alternative to be able to bring in revenue, for sure. But I spend a lot more time on it than I make worthwhile. Does that make sense? I put more hours. I could make more money working at McDonald's than I make off of the views off YouTube for the amount of time I invest. You know, and there's times where this stuff it's just rough. Like everything over the past like 2 weeks has been like really intensive. It's just one thing after another after another. Like this 700 right here, I should have never fixed that, but I'm too far into it now. Nothing I can do. But, you know, it comes with it, you know. So like this one, I'm not going to make much money on that with just because I spent so much money on parts. A&M Machines. Oh, so they don't come with titles on the golf carts. Anything newer than 2015, I need a title. And for me, I feel like 2020 is my area, where maybe a 19. Off the streets. Oh yeah, that was you that sent me that 850. He said it stayed on Marketplace for a while. It's gone now. I mean, that was a really good deal. That thing was cheap, but anybody in their right minds know that is missing a title for one reason. It's got a lien or it's stolen. That's the only reason why. A lot of pics with trash in the background. Got to tell them I'm gonna pass on it and make up an excuse why you're passing. Mainly because you know they're tweakers or something. Rednecks have trash in the background. That's really not a big deal. Welders scare me. Welders. Because anybody that has a welder just laying around, man, they will weld everything together. They weld the hub nuts on. They'll weld the bearing together and let it just slide around in the race. Like, I'm telling you, I think mud machines and farm machines are just like equivalently just as rough across the board. I don't know. I don't mind the trash in the background, but it would be easier if I was scrolling Marketplace to point it out, like, I don't buy that. I won't buy that right there. I won't buy that. You too, Caden. Have a good night. Cole said he's got a few shorts of the 700 on here. And them 700s, that's on the list. I'd like to get a hold of one. I can't do a whole lot of sport quads out here. There's not a whole lot of market to buy them. There are not a whole lot of people out there who are, I don't know. Out here, the sport quads are pretty clapped too. Well, dang, it's almost been on here an hour. That's crazy. That went quick. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. It was something the going live was an idea I had earlier in the winter, but like right now I don't have Wi-Fi out here at the shop, so I have to sit outside at the shop door, because in here there's no signal. If you sit over there by that orange Kubota, it's a dead zone in here. So it is definitely something I want to do. Nice seeing y'all. Fritz, sup, man? I've never seen you live up until now. Hope everything has been thriving in the shop. Yeah, it's been going good. I used to do Will It Run lives where I would bring it in and we would see if it would run, and I would rig it to run to see if it'd run. And I love doing those, but I don't quite get the units for that anymore. That was when I was buying so many for parts. It was easier to find them like that. Yeah, Cole said, how are you enjoying your first live Q&A? I really like it. It's nice to be able to connect with people because I know over text, like if you leave me a comment, I just put what I'm supposed to put there or what I intend to put, and for some reason it always just comes out like it doesn't come out very friendly. I don't come out very friendly over text. So I really like the live better. Something where I can actually say what I'm thinking. And then like with the videos, like normally I cut out when I like space out for a second. But on the lives, you can't do that. But it's pretty cool. Eric Nissan Sup from Arizona. What's going on, man? Is it warm over there? Buddha Part said, I like the lives and I love the Will It Run lives. I know. I got to get Wi-Fi in here, and I got to figure out how to find more of the machines like that to make them run. Off the streets and in the creeks, I like the lives. Appreciate it, man. ATV Kid 21, I really enjoy watching your content, man. Keep up the great work. Thanks, bro. Cole said his content is a fun time. Appreciate it, man. Raptor Crazy, hey, quit saying my name. Yeah, man. It's much more fun to be able to connect with y'all and be normal. Stop by the shop. We have 100 parts quads to pick from. I tell you what, if this damn Kubota doesn't sell soon, I might just take you up on that offer. I'll take it up there and swap you out for something less lame. something less. Because like I can only imagine cases for that are like $2,000 from Kubota. I ain't paying that. The goat said, "Are you taking any machines to auction or just selling marketplace?" Right now, I can't really deal with the turnaround time for auction. Because what is today? The 6th. The auction is this next Friday. Right now, I could probably get away with dropping off. So we'll just say, for example, say I took that Kubota up there. You need to have it up there like 2 weeks prior, at least with the auction by me. You need to have it up there 2 weeks prior. And then you don't get paid for another 2 weeks after that, after the sale. So, you know, if you pick it up and it's timed right, you're looking at a 4-week turnaround time. And that's garbage. I want, we'll say, a 2-week turnaround time max. So, but we'll say, so for example, this 6x6. Say I wanted to have that there Monday. Well, parts came in, things happened, it ain't gonna happen. Now, something else happened with it, and now parts still ain't gonna be in, it's not gonna be ready till next Monday. And if I drop that off the Monday, the week of the auction, it goes towards the end of the auction. It doesn't sell for anything. So there's money to be made buying stuff at the end of the auction to be able to sell on marketplace versus you don't want your stuff going at that late of the day. So everything I sell goes on marketplace right now. Coop does it said I got booted off for some reason. I don't know. I haven't done enough lives to tell you I know what's going on here. For the most part, I've got no idea. Brutal Parts said trade. Yeah, come on, man. Let's go. We can meet in Tennessee. I'll drive it up there. That thing doesn't roll very well though. Brittany said, I love the lives. Do more. I will. Maybe once a week or something. Fritz says, how's the ATV sales versus the side-by-side UTV sales? Does one sell more easily than the others? So over the last few months, I've done a lot of these Rangers. These 6x6s do not sell as good as regular ones. Outside of that, the other two I had, I felt like last year, midsummer, I was able to get $3,000 for one of those and sell it within 24, 48 hours. Sometimes would bump up to 3 to 4 days. It has not been like that. But the last couple ATVs, like that Grizzly 600, that if you saw the previous video, I don't know, that was when it snowed here. So that was early January. I don't think that was online for 48 hours. And it sold for my asking price. And I always price higher than what I want. So like at the end of the videos, I'll put what I think it's worth. So for example, I want to say that one I thought it was worth 15 or 16. I think it was 16. And when I sold it for 18. Guy didn't try to talk me down or nothing. And every one of the ATVs prior to that were selling better. It seems like these farm units do better during the summertime when people are actually out and about wanting to work. Raptor Crazy said, good show, be safe. Appreciate it, man. Cole said, I wonder how a trade up challenge would go with that Kubota. I don't know. You know, one of the things I want to do with one of those, not necessarily a trade up challenge, but like a flip challenge. I've been wanting to do that with a truck. You know, start with something like $1,000. Go out and buy something like a Ford Ranger for $500 that needs a motor. Go buy a motor, drop the motor in, trade the Ranger, sell the Ranger, either way. Take everything from that, put it into the next truck, and keep doing that all the way up to like a nice 2022 F-250, Power Stroke. That's where it's at. Off the streets and in the creeks. What did you get in Austin? Or is it surprise? Don't want to ruin an upcoming video. What I wouldn't say ruin it because it's been in the background the whole time. It is a Kawasaki Prairie 400. That was from a subscriber. I'll save some of the details. I will say this. I don't know anything. I still haven't touched it. I unloaded it, and I've been messing with this 700 and the 6x6 I got from you. That one I'm gonna actually start on in the morning. It's probably still another week and a half, 2 weeks out from me having a video on that one though. It's a 98 to 02 Prairie 400. It's a pretty clean little unit. Can't wait. Brittle Parts said, "Can't wait to sell you Prairie 400 parts back." Man, the only downside with these Prairies is their failure points were top ends, cams, and rear ends. I don't know if you got a rear end from me. And if you did, you wouldn't still have it because that's how fast they sell. I think that one's good though. Hopefully it's not the top end. I'm sure I can figure it out though. All right, you guys got any more questions before I log out of here? Maybe we'll do this weekly or bi-weekly or something like that. Because it's definitely pretty cool. Nothing. Well, oh, there's Fritz. If you had to look at the specifics, what would you say your most solid customer demographic is? Like more farmers than regular everyday people or something different? Honestly, I don't really sell to farmers. It's mostly regular, yeah, it's regular people. Farmers, man, they generally can go and buy something at the dealer and they, and by farmers, I assume you're talking about like big farms, cattle farms. We got a lot of chicken farms out here. And if they go buy something from the dealer, they're able to write that off. So I assume that's why I don't see many people like that. Because like I'll ask them what they're using it for. We sold a Ranger 700 a while back, the one that had all the rat stuff in it, that had sat for the better part of over 10 years. And they said they were taking that to their little farm. And they said they had like 5 or 6 acres. So no like big farming. I would say regular people. I don't, since I'm out in BFE, I will say that. I'm in the middle of nowhere. When someone comes to buy something from me, they're a serious buyer. I have rarely have someone decide they don't want something. Like they show up and they don't buy it. Somebody comes to buy something from me, it is as described, runs great. Everything is what I say it is. And it's just normal people from like, I don't know, probably 30 to 50. I guess that's the best way to put it. I don't have any youngsters. A lot of the real old people have money to go buy that shit from the dealer. Appreciate it, Cole. Thanks, Coop. You too, ATV kid. Raptor Crazy said the Prairies had a lot of problems up top, mostly poor design. You know, I haven't really worked on a bunch of those Prairie 400s. All the ones I've ever had, they were just solid units. Off the streets and in the creeks, I have a question. How do you get your parts so clean? I noticed that one on the Ranger video, you got that engine clean. So I have that little tub right there. You see how dirty that is right now? That is full of dirt at this point. It's gonna have to be, I'll burn it all. That's diesel. I'll buy like 5 gallons of diesel and it'll last me like 1 engine rebuild. It doesn't make them beautiful. When you see the 6x6 engine, you'll see what I mean. Like it doesn't make them beautiful. It cleans them up. It cleans the insides very, very well, but that red staining on the outside, it just doesn't get that out of there. And I need something to be able to bring that out of it. I guess I could acid wash it, but I really don't want to get into that kind of harsh chemical stuff. Another vapor hunter would be something like that. Oh yeah, Brittany said, she knows I use the super clean on some of that stuff. Yeah, when I'm washing these, like after I'm done and I wash them, I use super clean. Just spray the engine down. You gotta be careful with it on the aluminum. If you leave it too long, It'll jack some stuff up and turn it a different color that you don't want it to be. Yeah, as Coop does, it says super clean, mean green, or Pine Sol. Yeah, I've never used Pine Sol, but Super Clean actually has been sponsoring the channel. They send me free products, and it's stuff I used prior. So like I'm not out here to push products that I wouldn't use to people. Stuff that I don't use. You know, Super Clean is good stuff, but be careful. Don't leave it on there too long. Cole said aluminum brightener or oven cleaner does a decent job with the orange. Oven cleaner is on the list. I keep forgetting that when I go to Walmart to get me some and to give that a shot, because I saw someone talk about that on what was that on? Exhaust. To get that off the exhaust. And if I could make the exhaust look nice, that would be cool. Fritz TK, I've recently seen that. Oh, it went away. Said something about using Dawn dish soap. I think it said fish soap, but I get the point. I have, where's that at? Right there. That little sprayer, it's one of them pump sprayers. And I've used Dawn and Super Clean and water. It's like the Dawn, I just winged it with water too, and it worked good. You spray the whole machine down, gets it nice. There's a guy out there, his name's Alan Booty, who created this stuff called Booty Juice. It's really called that. That's why I led with it. That's his actual name. It's Booty Juice. And you take, and it's Tide, liquid Tide, like Super Clean, or Zep is what they use. I've used Super Clean. And then water. So like I would use the Tide, dump it in that thing, and then I would fill it, the Tide thing full of Super Clean, dump it in, and then dump 2 or 3 things of water in there and spray it on there. It looked good. It cleaned these machines pretty well. It cleaned the engines too, like especially because the bottom of underneath the engine gets coated with oil pretty good, and it's hard to really get up underneath there. Just don't leave it on no coated surfaces. I've never screwed up on a coated surface yet, just the aluminum. Coop does it, said Pine Sol cleans carbs better than carb cleaner. Just let them soak in it overnight. I'm gonna have to try that. Does it leave the outside of them looking good? Because my ultrasonic, I don't think it works anymore. It makes noises, but I don't think it works anymore. Crimes against man. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to buy and flip like you do, but instead of ATVs, I want to buy boats and zero-turn mowers? Well, I would say this. With boats, see, and that gets into titling there. And I say that but I don't think all states title. Kansas might not. Missouri might not title boats. I don't know. That's something to be very aware of. Because like with cars, if you sell too many per year, you get into title jumping's illegal. And if you transfer too many titles to your name, it brings up a red flag. So that's something you might want to consider with boats. You know, legality. If you're in California, everything you do is illegal. But if you're in Florida, I don't know, man. Zero turns. A buddy of mine does a lot of zero turns, and he does very well on them. The one zero turn I bought to flip did not do good at all. It was just a piece. It was such a piece. But I mean, when I started flipping, what I did is I lived by a philosophy of don't buy anything you don't want to get stuck with. So, you know, for example, you know, something like that Kubota, I wouldn't have bought that because I wouldn't want to be driving around on that. So what I would do is like, I remember one of them was a Mojave, Kawasaki Mojave 250. It's super fun machines. And I think I had that for like a month and a half before I sold it. I didn't want to come up off the price because frankly, I didn't care if I sold it. And that's a good place to start, is something you're going to use. So if it doesn't sell, and those are two very seasonal items, like boats and zero turns, nobody's buying zero turns when the grass ain't growing. But at this time of year, if you can buy up the last of them right now and give it about a month when that grass starts growing, zero turns will do good. Same thing with boats. Nobody's out on the lake yet. Once summer gets here, it's booming. The GOAT, do you like working on the older machines or newer ones better? Better profit, neither one. I tell you what, I like the newer stuff better. I like EFI. I prefer EFI. I think EFI is easier to sell. You don't end up with all the... So I'm hoping that's one of the dogs over there. Otherwise, Chupacabra is about to get me. Oh, it sounds like a dog. I think the EFI stuff sells better than carb because, when you get into selling to most people, if they've had a carb machine and you let a carb machine sit for too long, the carb's already gummed up. They're about to eat something out there. Oh, I hope it's not a skunk. You know how hilarious it would be to get skunked on a live? They've been getting skunked a lot lately. My neighbor's dogs have. Pine Sol and an ultrasonic makes carbs look new. I tell you what, I'm going to buy some Pine Sol and give that a shot. Coops does it, said they end up looking a little darker, but really clean. May have to scrub some if it's really dirty, then run again. But yeah, they turn out nice most of the time. Yeah, I'm going to have to give that. Raptor Crazy, what part of the question is everyone asking? The top part of the motor or the bottom part? What part of the question is everyone asking? The top part of the motor or the bottom? I don't know. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that, man. That's a tough one. Maybe I'm just getting tired. My brain's not working. What part of the question is everyone asking? The top part. Oh, they were asking what do you use to clean the motor? Was it the top part or the bottom part? I assumed that was the whole thing. The beginning of that, where Off the Streets and In the Creeks was asking me about, he was talking about when I did the full motor teardown and washed the whole thing. But I kind of breezed into washing them while I'm on the units. So once you're done, like that 700, I'm not doing a full teardown. But once I'm done, I am going to wash the engine because you want it to look as good as you can and be clean. It really does seem like the bottom ends take the staining worse because there's a lot of machines, and I know the LTZ 400 one is real bad about it. Is there's some kind of coating on those cylinders that doesn't stain, so somebody makes it's had a recent top end, and it's like, no, it's just that's how they are. The 700s aren't like that. That one's a bad example. The 500 cylinders, they also stain. But, it's kind of like this one. When I rebuilt that engine, I used the cases that were out of it. I used a stator cover that I had here for a Ranger. I bought my cylinder from Brutal Parts, and I don't even remember where the head came from. There's like 5 or 6 heads floating around here right now, so I just probably grabbed one. So the engine looks like it's multicolored, and the diesel I wash it in, that stuff dries, and it might look uniform once it does dry, but I'll try to use some more abrasive stuff on the outside of the engine once it's all apart. I didn't want to do that on the inside. The GOAT said, is there amount of money you try to profit to make on each machine? I look at it more per dollar. So if I'm spending $2,000 on a unit, I need to make some money to be worth putting that kind of money in, especially because you pay $2,000 for the unit. That's not including plus parts. Um, so I don't know if I'd say per per machine. I do know I want to start moving into some newer, nicer stuff that could bring me more profit per machine. I'd like to at least make $1,000 per unit. That's not always feasible. Sometimes that just don't happen. Cole said thoughts on the older Razor 800s. I love those things. So easy to work on. The first generation 08, 09, 10, the rear differentials can be expensive. If you get one with a blown out rear diff, I know there was one I went to look at in where was that? 3 hours away in Oklahoma. I drove 3 hours across Oklahoma to look at it. Supposed to just need a rear diff. And I get there and you gotta like flip a switch to kick the fuel pump on because that's the ECU failure. And I fire it up and it's knocking. And I'm like, no, dude. And he wanted 1,200. And I think I was like, dude, I'll give you 6. Like, you failed to mention this. And like, it was rough. Like the pictures he took, like he got down and like you could see it from the bottom section of it. But then whenever when you get there and you looked at it from up top and you're able to look down, golly, it was rough. Full of beer cans, full of mud. Ugh, nah. So I offered him 6 and he kind of pissed me off. So I walked on that deal. I'm out of water. Fritz said, so with selling off-road utility vehicles, it would be a lower barrier of entry due to not having to worry about titles, a lot of paperwork. I'd also assume it's best to do cash-only deals too. Okay, I don't want to legally screw myself saying something wrong here. It's different for every state. That's going to be different for every state. Like here in Oklahoma, now don't get me wrong, I didn't buy that from Oklahoma, but that's an 04. If that was purchased brand new in Oklahoma, no title was ever issued for it. They didn't start titles till 05 or 06. And I don't even think they're required. I know my Outlander came with some little brown ugly sticker that's like off-road vehicle permit they wanted me to put on it, but I'm not putting it on there. So that really depends on where you're at. If you're in a state like California, everything's illegal and you know, you gotta find your workaround. I don't think any of the states down here in the South, like from New Mexico, not New Mexico, because I think their titling laws suck, but like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, all the way across, I don't think you have to worry so much about titling issues. Just make sure you don't have, you just don't buy stolen stuff. That's a lot of what I've lived by is don't buy anything stolen, don't buy anything sketchy. You know, I've had people try to sell me stuff with like liens and stuff, and I'm like, just because I'm parting it out and yes, you know, no one will ever know. I don't want that. I don't want the headache. So I've always stayed away from, if it didn't have just clean, legit numbers on it, I don't want nothing to do with it. The goat said 1K is a good number. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, depending. You know, if, like the Viking, I made a couple thousand on, like close to 2,500. These Rangers, I was doing pretty good on making 1,500 to $2,000. Where I think the sweet spot with these Rangers are the mid-size 400s, because you can swap all 500 stuff in there. It's same cheap stuff to work on, but it's a $5,000 side by side versus a you know, something like this is 2,500, and they sell pretty fast. Coop does it. The Razor 800s are tanks. They are really reliable, but also depends on how they are taken care of. Yeah, and they're very, very easy to work on and pretty cheap in parts. I got a bunch of Razor stuff in there from the one that I bought that had that Honda GX 380 engine in it. That that one I parted out and sold all the expensive stuff because it wasn't worth nothing whole. And I kept all the other stuff so that if I come up with one, I can just swap all that on there. Fritz said the older Razor 800s can be tanks if taken care of. I've seen some tanks come through the dealership, and I've also saw some clunks of junk. It all depends on its history. Yeah, if it's mud road, you can guarantee it's going to be clapped. Every one of them 800s, they've been through the ringer now at this point. They always need all the bearings, all the bushings, something with the clutches, probably a top end, something's leaking, all the U-joints, fuel pump, ignition, battery. But all that's relatively cheap on that unit, so it's pretty worthwhile. Oh, off the streets and in the creeks. Got marketplace and live stream open just in case. Hey, you never know, man. There's a guy I know down south. He's much older than me. He bought an 800 6x6 from me. He said he'll go at any time of the day. He said he's out here talking to people at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I thought he was joking with me, so I'm talking to him. He's serious. He said, no, you'd be surprised what pops up at midnight. Like, really? He's like, yeah, some people are just getting in from work, just having time to list it. And that's crazy. Fritz says the whole cash only thing is something that I've heard from mechanics that I work around. Helps to keeps life going smooth. Okay, so I will lead this with I genuinely claim all this on my taxes. I am a legitimate business. But to other people, if somebody was just to be buying something and selling it cash, sure, it is what it is. I don't know why, but I really think at some point soon, what people sell on marketplace is going to be something that gets taxed, something that they pay attention to. Kind of like they started doing with the PayPal and the was that Cash App? I don't think it'll be under this current administration right now, but I'm kind of minding my P's and Q's just in case. Just that's my thoughts. Maybe I'm paranoid. Twin Light says Tennessee is a title state. Yeah. I know Arkansas, I've bought one. It was a 1993 Kawasaki Bayou from the original owner with title. I bought it for $100. They needed a stator. And I'll tell you what, those 4x4 Bayou 300s are such a pain in the ass. The front drive shaft runs right across the front of the stator cover. So it's like right there, runs right across. So you have to take so much apart. And by the time I took it all apart, pulled it all apart, went to order parts for it, sat there for like a month, and I was like, screw it, we'll just part it out. Oh, quad's so hot it's melting off the 7 layers of spray paint. You know, I don't automatically assume a spray painted quad is stolen. I know I've parted out my fair share of them, but they're definitely not good for buying to fix and flip because the plastics are trash. No one wants a spray painted quad. No one. And don't get me wrong, I've been guilty. I have spray painted one. It was in such rough shape. That was the only way to make it look good. And I bought this Foreman 500 for it was $500, $400. I had to replace the drain plug in it. The dude tried to change the oil, stripped it out, and I used some drain plug repair thing. And I thought, whoa, screw it. We'll see if it runs. If it does, maybe I'll fix it the right way. Lo and behold, it did. I rode the hell out of that thing. And then I ended up selling it to a buddy of mine over in Missouri. He still has it. Brutal Part says cash is king. That is right. 2-stroke tripod. What? No 3-wheelers. I send all that to a friend of mine. So he is a collector or a hoarder. I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at it. He has more 3-wheelers than I know what to do with. He got all the Tri-Zs from that deal. The ATCs. He got all the good stuff. So he's got Ducatis and stuff like that over there. I send all that to him. Not too long ago, I'm browsing Marketplace, and bam, here's a Quadzilla. I want to say it was $800. Maybe it was five to 800, somewhere in there. Supposed to be original from the original owner. It had been wrecked. They bent a control arm. So I send it to my buddy. I'm like, hey man, ain't you been looking for one of these? He's like, yeah. He buys it. And he's like, dude, you're not gonna believe this. It was really from the original owner, really with the original title. From California. I saw it in person. Don't get me wrong, that's the first time I've seen a Quadzilla in person. That is an ugly ass quad. I want to ride one. I no longer want to own one. I'd like to get the LT 250R. Those Quadzillas are too big. And I checked it out. It's a nice unit. And he really does have the title. Well, technically, I have the title. He accidentally gave it to me when I was picking up the mule from him. So I have the title in my truck right now for the next time I see him. Brutal Parts says, North Carolina doesn't issue titles for ATVs or dirt bikes. We just send a bill of sale with any machine or frame purchase. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's like everywhere, all the way from me to North Carolina, all the way south. Nobody really cares about titles. Fritz, I live in Mississippi. The brand new ones bought through the dealership are titled, but most of the used ones that I've seen bought used aren't always titled, and it's not that big a deal. I guess it all boils down to how frequent you are selling. I personally will be getting everything set up legally due to how frequent I will be selling when I get the ball rolling. Okay, there's 2 points I have there. I know with some of these older units, like if you buy it through the dealer brand new, they're forced to do like tax, title, and license now in certain states. But prior to that, you had to take that MCO or MSO. I call it an MSO because that's what I always heard it is, but it's MCO. And you'd take it down to your title, your tax office, whatever, and you'd have to pay extra to get the title. So in my opinion, if I bought a brand new quad and it came like that, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go pay all that extra money. But on another note, at one point I had a dealer's license in Texas for a salvage dealer. And I thought that dealer's license was going to get me into some big money. It did not. At all. Started to sound like it was raining. I remember I was in one of those dealer auctions, and this would have been 2016. Man, thank you. That would have been in 2016 that I had that. And there was a Can-Am Maverick, and it was a 4 or 5 year old machine. But at the time, it was an $8,000 unit ready to ride, marketplace. You could find a good deal on one for $6,000. That thing sold for $4,500. And it was either missing the motor or the transmission. I think it was the trans. I think it was missing the transmission and a whole bunch of other parts. I mean, like I did the math, like rough ballparking it. It was another $1,500 to $2,000 worth of parts. And then the fees with that were unreal. And I had, tried to tell somebody else who, he told me, man, I had a dealer's license and you get better deals on Marketplace than you think you're going to get at them dealerships. Because most of them dealers are making their money off of, financing. Where they make all their money off the back end of it. Where they're selling you warranties and all that. They're not making their money off selling the unit. But I just thought I'd throw that in there, Fritz. Like, that's just what I felt like's useful information. Coop does it said, I already do my taxes with this as a business, but on vehicles, I'll get them with clean titles, not registered in my name. So I do get into that. You can only sell so many vehicles a year thing. Yeah, I've bought and sold a few vehicles over my time. The last few I've titled to me because I drove them around until they sold. Cole said, do you ever deal with dealership trade-ins? No, I need to. I'm not too far away from a pretty big dealer called Antlers Motorsports. A lot of people from Texas, Tennessee. I think there were the people who bought the Viking from me were from like Tennessee or something like that. Yeah, I think it was Tennessee. And they came all the way down here to Antlers to buy that, to buy a side by side from them because their prices are that good. They had a bunch of units back there, and I meant to go talk to them about it. But every time I drove past there, they were closed. And then all the units were gone. Something I mean to, but you know, I get pretty good deals person to person. Off the streets and in the creek said, I don't think I sent you a picture, but last week I bought a 97 Explorer 500, pay $100. I got it for the engine. You know, I like Rangers anyways. It came from a shop. All it needed was a carb clean. Guy said it wasn't worth fixing. Has OEM carb, but leaks bad. Gonna have to check the needle and seat again. Man, just replace it. But don't buy a cheap Amazon kit because I just went through that with one of the Rangers I got from you, and that kit was garbage. No, no, no. The needle and seat from that kit was fine. The jets, they were wrong. That's a lot of talking all at one sitting. Brutal Part said, I've looked at Copart and Crash Toys and never felt like those machines would make any money. The prices they bring leave little to make money on after fixing or parting. Crash Toys is the one I was talking about, that Maverick. It was in Dallas. It was when Crash Toys had just popped up down there. And I thought I'd be able to make some bucks on that. And I had looked at Copart too, and they just weren't good. If I were buying from auction, I'd stay away from the dealer auctions because it's like the fees that they tack onto that stuff is unrealistic. I want to say it was going to be like $1,000 in fees on that one. And that was back in 2016. So that's close to 10 years ago. The auctions I buy from, there's small auctions. So like there's one, I have no idea what it's called, but they are Texas Parks and Wildlife sell there. And they sell all the clapped out units once they're done with them. And the only reason I know of it is because I bought a mule at another auction through high bid, and I paid too much for it. But he had bought it when I searched for the VIN afterwards. He had bought it from Texas Parks and Wildlife through that other auction for $50. And it was a rust bucket, like non-repairable. Just is non-repairable. But guys, this has been a fun one. We'll definitely do this again. Maybe I'll I guess it's gonna have to be weather permitting, but maybe do another one in 2 weeks. Off the streets in the creek to get a Sportsman 500 carb rebuild kit. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I just put a 330, 335 carb on there, on that one I got from you. I just put all the Chinese parts out of it, out of the one that was in it. Fritz said, was it expensive to get everything lined out when you were become a licensed dealer? Are you like a licensed retail dealer or wholesale? I don't do that, the dealer license no more. Now that I'm in Oklahoma, I lived in Texas at the time. They're different there. Oklahoma has, I don't know how to put it. No one gives a shit here. There's nothing going on here. I wouldn't say it was expensive, but there was a lot of stupid loopholes that I had to jump through to get it. And if you called somebody who worked for the city and asked, hey, do I need this? They'd be like, I don't know. Do you need this? And I'm telling you, that is exactly how it went down. It was so stupid. Like, how are you supposed to know if you need all this stuff? But if y'all have any more questions, you know, that I didn't get to while we're on here, hit me up on the Facebook page, the ATV Hustle Facebook page. Thanks for joining on live. We'll do it again 2 weeks from now if the weather's not trash. We're in that time of year where it could be pouring down rain in 2 weeks. Appreciate it, guys.